video I'm going to try and talk briefly about why the current model of star formation and planet formation and life cycle is incorrect and the correct model of physics. Now, the first significant thing is that the Jeans model, the Jeans equation, is used to justify saying that stars are formed from gas clouds collapsing under their own gravity. The Jeans model works fine where there already are massive objects there, but it doesn't work for gases on their own. Gases, even boson gases, need to be confined and they need to be subject to massive pressure to get them to clump together. And I spotted a statistical inequality in the double slit experiment, which is so simple it's almost impossible to believe that millions of physicists missed that for nearly 100 years, but they did. No physicist I have ever talked to has known that inequality, and if they had, it would be one of the first things taught in quantum physics, which changes almost everything in physics. Things like the first law of thermodynamics, which states that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It shows that this wave propagates out, so energy is created, and it propagates out in spherical waves. And what that inequality proves is that the particle model cannot be correct. That is always waves propagating out, but we only detect it in one dimension. What didn't help with the particle model is that particle physicists can't define what energy actually is. But I do. And when you understand what it is, energy quantized is a push or a collision between quantum nodes or harmonic oscillators in the space-time fabric. So it doesn't make sense that all the pushes and the collisions happened at the one moment of the Big Bang at the start of the universe. It just does not make sense. And when that energy propagation gets confined in a tight space where it cannot escape, that's what's traditionally known as a black hole. But they're not black holes, they're dark stars. Energy is propagated and these things grow. And every star has got a dark star core, generating energy, generating matter from the core outwards. And what I'm saying is that stars are propagated, they are ejected from stars as supermassive solar eruptions, supermassive solar mass ejections. And when these ejections of mass are so large, they coalesce under their own gravity and they form another tiny star. Well, the centre of that star is so dense that energy becomes a dark star core and it starts the process as well. And it's the same with the Earth and all the other planets that have volcanic activity. The Earth and these other objects were emitted from the Sun and they cool down with the near absolute zero temperature of outer space. But because they still have these dark star cores, they keep generating energy. And to understand why the Earth has grown in size, we just need to look at Pangea. Now, Pangea is the supercontinent which is said to have existed in the early life of the Earth. And they said that these continental plates broke up and they drifted apart. But the problem with that is that doesn't make sense, because continental plates, tectonic plates, do not drift. They crack and they separate, and in between where they crack there's magma which hardens. It cools and solidifies with the temperature of the water in the oceans. So the continents haven't drifted apart, they've been pushed apart because the Earth has been expanding, it's been growing throughout its evolution. And it will continue to grow and expand as it evolves to eventually become a star itself. If you look at Jupiter is on its way to becoming a brown dwarf. The current model of cosmology says that Jupiter is distinct from a star like a brown dwarf. It's a gas giant, but it's not. It's growing to become a brown dwarf and then a red dwarf. And our sun will continue to grow as well. And what people don't realise is that, like all stars, our sun goes through periods of massive flares where the energy gets built up and we have a supermassive flare emitting huge amounts of energy in a single flash, what people are calling micronovas, and these repeat every few thousand years for our sun. The cycle between hot periods and ice ages is because of these super flares. After a super flare, then the temperature of the sun goes down again and we go back into an ice age. One of the most recent seemed to be the Hunger Dryas period, where something happened that changed the weather on the Earth for almost 1,000 years, which a lot of archaeologists now are saying wiped out many civilizations around the world, many advanced civilizations who didn't see this thing coming because they didn't understand the sun. And now, even though we've got great advances in physics technology, in computers and digital age, we still know very little about the universe and our own sun. and people really need to start looking at the proper model of physics that works, so we can get to grips with it and we can prepare for events that are going to happen in our future, because they are going to happen sooner or later. They're going to happen. So please, everybody, put aside your beliefs about what you think the conclusions that you have are correct. When you know there are so many anomalies and paradoxes and things which do not add up, look at alternatives, look at my model, and you'll see the model that works, that makes sense out of everything in physics. It defies what we believe is true using a particle model, but as we know, the particle model does not work. Bell's theorem shows that the particle model is incompatible with quantum mechanics. So that's it. I don't want to go into too much detail. As I said, I want to keep it brief, just give an overview. You can read more detail in my theory of everything on doubleslitsolution.weebly.com/springtimetheory.html. And check out the 2 mathematical proofs on my channel. Absolute proof that a second loop is impossible in the collapse conjecture, regardless of any value of x within infinity, and proof to the Goldbach conjecture. Both of them absolute, very simple, anything but dazzling and sophisticated and intimidating, but they are absolute mathematical proofs.